we know each other and we have seen each other's evolution and the way we have grown up as professionals and also as person, and that's great, man. So we are live now. So let's say hi. So I'm sorry, I'm going to speak in Spanish for a bit, just to introduce the Crad life, and we'll be back in English to talk to you, man.
Okay.
Bueno, chicos, buenos días a todos ustedes. Espero que se encuentren bien, que estén felices. Gracias por acompañarnos en este gran Crad Live número 52 con el gran Jose Alves Da Silva, un gran artista que estará con nosotros. Estará hablándonos de su experiencia, de su recorrido, de su vida, un poquito. Entonces prepárense para tener una gran charla con Jose Alves Da Silva. Chicos, bienvenidos a todos ustedes a este Crad Live número 52 y prepárense porque será increíble. And Jose, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation to be in this Crad Live. It's an honor for me to have you here. It's really important for me as well to have you here and to have a talk with you. So thank you very much for being here, man, and welcome to this Crad Live.
No, it's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
Cool, man. So first of all, I always want to start these conversations asking, who are you, man? Who is Jose Alves Da Silva? What have you done? Tell us a bit about yourself, man.
Well, my name is Jose. I'm a 3D character artist. I work mainly as a sculptor for collectibles, and at the moment, for the last 6 years, I've been working with a company named QMX. They only do collectibles. I work especially in a line of figures that's the Q-Fig line, which is a more kind of cute-ish line where and when we work with all the licenses that have all licenses you can imagine, Marvel, DC, Warner Brothers, Fox, all those kind of characters of popular culture. I managed to work them every day, and that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. Yeah.
6 years, but you've been working before in animation as well.
Before that, I've worked for about 5 years, more in the realm of 3D illustration or creating 3D characters that could be used in. I didn't animate, but I've made characters for animation, or characters to be used in advertising, illustration. I made that since 2010 until about 2015. That's when I worked in that area, and I made a lot of illustrations. And at the time, I was a freelancer, and I used to make a lot of tutorials and put a lot of this material online. That was the drive that kept giving me work and kept me as a freelancer during those 5 years. After those 5 years, I joined QMX and started working specifically in the sculptural part of the characters to create all these figures for collectibles.
And do you miss illustrations, or you're fine with doing just sculpting?
Yes and no. It's because when you do the 3D characters for illustrations, you go through a process in which you start by, let's say, sculpting the character. Then you have to texture the character, render the character, light the character, create the whole thing to create this 3D illustration. And my favorite part of the process was always the sculpting of the character, the shaping of the character. After that, there were a lot of technical parts which I knew how to do well, like creating UVs and texturing and all that were and the rendering part, that were parts that took more time, but were not so appealing to me. Nowadays, the more and more the UVs, for example, the creation of UVs is more and more automatic. You can get the results faster and faster. But there were times in which it was very painful to do.
It was.
And also when you get to the rendering part, there is this time in which you are doing, you're just telling the computer to render. Now you have to wait, go and pick a coffee, then you come back, see the result, then adjust, then go and take another coffee, come back, and things have changed with the GPU rendering and all the VPR and all that. You can work with now the render is faster, and you can do. But also, when you're an artist, you're always pursuing for the next level, and especially if you get and want to work on those very highly detailed characters and all that, you always get a way to ruin your machine and get it to the point in which you have to wait for the render, right? Because you want more and more and more and more. But especially, I decided to move to the sculpture part because of two things. One of them was the introduction of 3D printing.
Okay.
Because I had a project that took about 8 months, in which I've worked for MakerBot, which is the company that makes 3D printers, and in which I specifically designed a line of characters just to be printed on their printers to show the capacity of their printers. And so I gained a lot of knowledge in the process of breaking characters in parts, on modeling for 3D print. And I started posting that work online, and then I got hired by QMX to work specifically in creating characters for like 3D printing, which is the beginning of the production of a character that is 3D printed and then goes to the factory, and you do all the things until the characters get as a collectible to the stores. So it was a natural process, because before I started doing the 3D illustration, I came from a completely different background. So I have a degree as an architect, and when I finished my degree, my course back in 1996,
okay,
I started to work in 3D and put it together with architecture. So I started working in architectural visualization when it was at its very early stages. I made a company with 3 more friends, and we worked in the 3D for architecture. And I was in that company with my friends for about until 2010, for about 15 years. But the company grew, and we reached a point in which I was not doing 3D anymore. So because we had a big team, we reached the point in which we were 25 people in the company, and I was leading the 3D team. So
like managing, and
I was just managing, dealing with clients, with deadlines, with rearranging schedules, with talking to the team to making have things done on time, getting feedback from clients, doing everything except what I liked.
Okay.
So I felt the need to start putting the hands on the 3D again. And from very young, I always loved characters. And so at night, at home, I started working on characters, learning ZBrush, doing all my thing. And I think for about 2 years, I had this process of getting home and working on my 3D stuff. I started posting all these things online, and there was a point on time in which I made an image, which is a rabbit smoking, which I don't know if your audience knows image, but I'll just show it so that people are familiar with it.
It's cool because in that moment I think it's like 2011, 2012.
No, this is 2009.
2009.
2009.
It was super famous in different forums. I remember that I was in a 3D Total forum, and it appears, and I was like looking for the artist, and I found this magazine. I think I have it, and you started to be really popular in this kind of imagery, like in these galleries.
It was a very special image because I was learning 3D, and in each image I made, I always tried to introduce something new that I did not know. So let's say I create a new image, let me focus on hair because I have not done so much hair. I was creating another image, and now let me focus on human anatomy. Another in lighting or some aspect. But the truth is that with each image, I was trying to learn new things about the weak point I had.
That's cool, man.
But in this image, it was a time in which I thought, come on, each image I'm releasing, I'm not very satisfied with it because I'm trying to learn something on it, and sometimes I got tired of the images. So you worked, like say, at night for 1 month in an image, and then you just couldn't see the image anymore. It's okay. Let me post it online. Done. Let me start something else. And some of them were good, but were not excellent. So at a certain point, I decided, well, I'm going to create an image in which I'm going to put everything that I'm strong at, instead of doing an image of things that I'm weak at. No. So I'm going to put everything, a character I like bunnies, and now I can do stuff with air and all that. Let me do it, let's make it a little bit comical, all the things I like. And I also promised myself that I wouldn't stop working on that image until I was fully satisfied. And if I was not fully satisfied, it would be better to get it, put it on a drawer, let it wait for as much time as needed, and go back to it and continue. And it was this image. So instead of taking 1 month to do an image, it took me about 2 months.
Okay.
And there was a time in which I was actually tired of it, and I said, no, I'm not going to work on it. And then I got back to it, but I was really satisfied with the image, and I posted. So instead of creating a very good image, I think I had achieved an excellent image.
That's really
and the
good,
result
man.
Online was completely different. It just exploded. In Sigue Talk, that was very important at the time. All that, it got front pages, got awards in all the major sites, and all that. And that was the difference between making something that was good and something that was very, very good.
Yeah.
And it paid off. So that's when I thought, okay, maybe I've got what it takes to stop doing all this coordination stuff at the company, and maybe use this as something that I would like to do in my life. But then, yes.
Sorry, continue. I will just post the image here. I found it in ArtStation, so I will put it here in the live, and you can continue with the story. Sorry, man.
Okay. So, but there was also another thing that happened that was really curious, was that once I achieved this image that I considered that was excellent, I kind of froze as an artist. So what happened was that I felt that, and now the next image is going to have to be as good as this one. So I was in a process in which I was not being able to start anything new, because I had set a certain standard, and now I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to meet that standard. So what happened? Then there was this challenge at the CG Society, CG Talk, back the days. It was a challenge that was called Secret Agent, and I decided, well, I've got to as I'm freezing here, I have to do something. I'm going to get in this challenge just to make something that will help me get away from this situation and do something. And so I started doing that image, and it kept evolving the challenge, and miraculously I won the first prize of the challenge. And it was a very big challenge. There were about 1,000 people entering, and the prizes were really good. For you to have an idea, the overall value of the prize were about 10,000 euros.
Oh my God.
It included a workstation, a license of 3ds Max, a Wacom, all these things. These were really huge prizes, and it was really curious because the act of trying to finally get back to doing something and being so afraid of starting again actually made you do an image that really made my career skyrocket. No, because after that, after winning that, I got the spotlights on me, and people started asking for work, and because it was the spotlights were on, and that was the time in which I had to make my lifetime decision: is Now I have everything. The spotlight is on me. It won't be on me for many weeks or
Okay.
many months, and then as it goes away, I don't know if I'll ever manage to win a challenge this size again. So I kind of have. I felt that I was at a turning point. So in space of kind of 1 month, I decided in my head, no, Jose, now it's the time. If you want to do characters for the rest of your life and want to leave the architectural visualization, it's now. So I gave this leap of faith because just for people to understand, I was 35 years old at the time.
Okay.
I was married and I had 2 kids, and I
Love.
had my own company with about 20 people, and the option was leave all the work thing behind and start from scratch as a freelancer. So
It was a big decision. It was a really big decision.
it was a big decision, but I had the support from my wife. I talked with her. She gave me all the support, and I said, okay. I talked to my partners, which were my friends, and they continued with the company, and I left the company. And in the beginning of 2010, I started working as a freelancer, getting those gigs, and going through all the problems that freelancers do in getting work. Do I get enough work? But I don't know. I guess I was lucky, and I managed to always have work, and it's been 11 years since I've changed to a character artist.
That's great, man. That's a great story. I think that in that moment, forums and galleries were so important, more important than now, I think.
A lot more, yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know if the challenge that you mentioned was the one about the mouse and a
Yes,
guy
yes.
and a
I
guy
can-
with a gun in his hand. Can you show
Yes,
us
I
the
can.
image?
Yes,
It was
I have
also
it.
published, I guess, because I think I have it. I mean, I think I
It's-
get
it's-
it.
It was I don't know if it was this image. I don't know if you can.
It is so nice, man.
The image that won the challenge. It was by the end of 2009. I think it was in September 2009.
Where is it published? In 3D Artists as well?
It was published in many things. This is the book, the Digital Art Masters, for example, and it got everywhere. The image got very popular. I was very lucky to have like 2 very popular images in a row, and that was very important to make things start for me.
That's scary as well, no? As you said, the standard was getting even higher and higher and higher, and it was difficult for you to create an image that would be better than the last one you did, and the pressure is on you. I think that happens to me as well, and to everyone. As I think you create something good, and people are expecting that you create something better than you did the last one. So how can you deal with this kind of pressure?
Here, as I said, I had to force myself to start something, because these challenges were, when you entered in a competition, it was something very in which you had a lot of comments from the challenges were incredible at the time. You would be posting kind of almost every day all the steps that you would be of your image, and everyone that was running the challenge would be commenting on yours, you would be commenting on theirs, and you'd see everyone's work evolve, and it was incredible. And as you felt that push from everyone to just keep doing things and getting first, and people would enjoy something or comment on something, and you keep pushing it forward. It was like if everyone was helping you, kind of moving forward. So I think it was the right environment to help me get. But I never had that kind of block again. It was that time, because later I've made other images, and especially, for example, like I said, 3D Total, the magazine, they have hired me to do some tutorials for creating other images. For example, the kangaroo image, I think
Kangaroo image. Don't worry, I have it. I have a signed one from you.
Yeah, and if you notice, there are some, I would say, similarities with the rabbit image. Similarities you can even see the rabbit on the back on the
you told us
on the silhouette there. So it's also an animal, a furry animal in a comic attitude with this kind of lighting. It's of the same style, I would say, but which was asked to do by 3D Total because I had made the rabbit image. That's one thing that, for example, I would leave almost as an advice is that when you're a freelancer, you will always be hired to do things that you have already done. So it's never if for example you only post bears, probably if someone needs to do a bear, they will see, oh, this guy is kind of the specialist in bears, I'm going to hire this guy. But no one is going to hire you to do a woman based on your bears. Why? Because the risk is too high. When they look at the bears, I don't know, this guy might be spectacular at sculpting women, but I cannot see it. So it's a very high risk to hire this guy to do a woman. But if I want a bear, this is the bear guy. So one thing that I would give as an advice is when you put things in your portfolio, always put the work that you'd like to do. Because if you do something great, people will hire you to do that kind of work. If you start posting work of things that you don't like to do, you run the risk of always getting hired to do those kind of things. And then you'll be stuck doing things that you don't like as much. So that would be a piece of advice.
That's a really good one because that's what that we listen a lot in the train horse, for example. They say, put the work that you want to be hired to do. If you post a lot of cars and you don't want to do cars, well, people are going to hire you to do cars, and you will not be happy doing cars. So don't put it there just because a piece of portfolio.
I can give you an example of something that happened to me when I was doing all this 3D character for MakerBot. The last one I did was the most complex 3D project I did for 3D printing, which was the skeleton of a T-Rex.
Okay.
So, and it was a skeleton of the T-Rex that had to be 3D printed, and then all the pieces had to clip together. You could not use glue. You would have to find ways to put those things together, and then after assembling the whole thing, it would have to stand and not fall, and all made from these little bones that would have to be 3D printed. There were a lot of challenges in there, and those were 3 weeks that it took me to do that skeleton, that in which my brain was melting every day because it was a very, very hard puzzle to do. In the end, when I finished it, the client was super excited with the result. So the next thing he asked me, now can you do me a pterodactyl skeleton? I had just finished the T-Rex, so this is what happened, and I decided I'm not going to post this T-Rex work online, or I'm not going to give it a lot of a highlight, because I don't want to do this ever again. It was not something that I was not good at. It was just something that I didn't like to do. Of course, if I was dying or starving, of course I would do a pterodactyl and then a brontosaurus and then a dragon. Another dinosaur skeleton if I need, but I was not in that position, and it was very. So this is the advice. I didn't want to do any more skeletons, so I didn't put them on my portfolio.
That's a good advice, because I have seen a lot of portfolios of people that are trying to get into the industry, are students, and as soon as they finish one piece, even if it is just for class, they post it in the portfolio. So you can see a lot of people that post vehicles and post riggings and post animations and post characters and post hair and post illustrations, and you ask them, well, what do you want to do the most? And they say, I don't know. I just want to be in the industry. I don't care about what I'm going to do. And probably they're going to be hired to do something they don't like because they haven't figured it out. And this is a really common question. I mean, it wasn't my case because I don't know why, but I always have loved characters, and I was pretty sure that I wanted to do work in that. But a lot of people don't know what what road are they going to take in the industry. Can you give us like an advice for that, like how to focus on just one part of the industry?
Well, what you tell me is that if it is important, if you don't know exactly, well, if you started, I expect that you start working on this because you like it in a certain way. You haven't been forced to be a 3D modeler. But probably, but it's also great to experiment all these different types of modeling. Let's say, for example, today with ZBrush, you can do a lot of sculpting without having a good knowledge of topology, for example. You can do that. You can force yourself to just use Dynamesh and all those triangles on Sculptris Pro and never have to deal with a good topology. However, if you in your past have had to work, like say in vehicles, for example, it is incredibly important to have a good topology because you will be mainly using subdivision surfaces in which you'll be creating a simpler polygon that will then be kind of rounded when you give them a subdivision. And it's very important to create a very sound base for it. If you have the knowledge of both, then when you pick a character and you have to create a character, for example, for animation, you need to create a topology to be animated. If you're just a sculptor of a head, you won't have any idea how to create that geometry in which, for example, a hard surface will give you a very good base for creating simpler forms, and which with subdivision will turn into more complex forms. So I would say that it is important to test all these kind of techniques, and then it will enrich you as an artist, because as a 3D artist, we're not just artists, we are also technicians. And the more you know of the technical side, and the best you get as an artist, if you put them together, you'll have the really great technical artist that we all aspire to be. So it's not bad to be looking for some. For example, people that want to do characters, but also have a little bit of experience in animation. It's very important, because if you try to animate, if you create a rig for an animation, you'll deal with the problems that the animators will have to deal. For example, if you have to turn an elbow and you've never animated an elbow, you have to know that the topology is going to have to go around the elbow so that then it's possible to bend it, or around the face, the kind of lines that you have to create so that it's easier for the geometry to animate. If you've been through animation, you have gained that experience, and then when you model for animation, you already take these things into account. So you'll be giving a better model for the animator to work with. So it's very important to, when you work in an area, to know a little bit about all the areas that connect to that specific area. So it's very good to experiment with different things, and then when you know what to do, to have a little bit of experience of everything that connects with that area.
That's a great advice, man. I was thinking about, do you think that your background in architecture has helped you to be a better artist now?
Yes, because it was the transition. I was doing using 3D, mainly 3ds Max, to create all the models for architecture. And as a renderer, I was using V-Ray from Chaos Group. So when I started doing my characters, I started using the same techniques. So I was using V-Ray for lighting and rendering, which was the same renderer I was using for architecture. And if I had to do some hard surface props for a character, I was using the same techniques that I was using for creating a building. So was kind of a transition in which a lot of the things I've used in architectural visualization were usable for creating characters. So it was a good path. It's like the Steve Jobs things. You only know when you connect the dots, now you know why you've done this. Because when I started my working in 3D visualization in 1996, the internet is not what it is today.
Of course, yeah.
If I wanted to work as a character artist in 1996 in Portugal, in my country, it would have been impossible. So if I had set that goal at the start, probably I would have not achieved it. I had to go through the architectural process, only to then go to the characters, and now doing the 3D characters. It happened that way. If it was different, I wouldn't have been able to do it, because the software wasn't there, the internet wasn't there, the tutorials weren't there, the market in my country did not exist. Well, sometimes life just sends us through strange passes, but we end up getting where we want to be.
Yeah, in a perfect timing, you know. I have seen a lot of artists that started their career in that moment, like 2009, 2010. I remember Alessandro Baldessaroni. I guess Grassetti also started in that time as well. Chris Costa. It's like the time that a lot of great artists started, you know, to work in their industry. That's great, man. That's it was a really good point of the industry in that moment. You know, internet started to grow.
I think it was easier to be spotted at that time, because there were less people working on the area, and when you did something great, the amount of people that did these great things were not as many as today. So I can see that today you go to ArtStation and all that, and you see people with 20 years old or something
or less
that do work that's mind-blowing. So the competition today, it's completely different. I don't know if I would be able to strive and get to the top today, as I was lucky at the time at which I started. I got the wave, I surfed the wave, and but I don't know if I would be able to catch the wave these days.
Of course you would, man.
I don't know. Really, I see the level of people today, and the level of the schools, and the fact that there is so much good information online for people to learn, and all
for
that
free as well.
For free, well, and you see what happened to Blender, for example. It was a software that was Blender is an incredible software, and it's also free. We are at a point in time in which you just do not learn if you do not want to learn, right? So and with so many people working, well, you'll have more talent, and the whole pyramid has got wider and wider. But also there's another thing. Maybe we never had so much demand from the market as we have now. You reach a point in which the companies like Netflix and Disney have their own streaming channels, and they are building their own content, and they build their own studios for reeling animation. The more and more you're using visual effects in every kind of series, not only in cinema. So there is a lot of demand for our type of work too.
I think this is a great moment to people from different countries. You know, that sometimes we thought like we don't have a market, we don't have industry, and we live in a bubble. This is the moment that we can start exporting our talent. You know. Because a lot of people are creating content and they need a lot of artists, and we need to be ready for this. So it's the moment to keep learning and be ready and prepare your portfolio to do that. You know?
And also the geography is no longer a problem. You know, you can be anywhere in the world, and studios are ready to hire you from anywhere in the world. And you have to take advantage of that. And as all this pandemic and COVID showed us, with so many people managing to working from home, and that is here to stay. What prevents a studio from working with someone from Colombia or Portugal or someone working on the North Pole? You know, it's just as long as you have a fast internet, you can work with
Anyone.
with everyone.
Exactly.
The only thing that I think is a restriction sometimes is because they have these very tight NDAs and secrecy about the content of the films, like I would say Disney and all that, and they probably do not want to spread this information wide, and so that this information doesn't get leaked. I think that will be their main problem. But with a lot of the work, it's especially in our area of character artists, it's not difficult at all for you to create models for whatever and then send the models and work with the team remotely.
And pandemic also taught us that we can work in meetings and we can do a lot of stuff remotely. So a lot of people that I know work in different places and they work for the same company. So that's a great advice for all of us, that we don't need to start worrying about geography. And that's a bit what I want to do with Crad. I think we live in a bubble here in Latin America,
Mm-hmm.
and in Colombia especially, because the market is not big enough for all of us, and sometimes we in Latin America think that we are not enough, and maybe we are not able to be in Pixar, in DreamWorks and big companies because we are not there. And with Trojan Horse, for example, I learned that we can be wherever we want to be if we study and when we are ready for this. And it doesn't matter where we're from, it doesn't matter what we do, it doesn't matter anything. It just matters to do a hard work and to be in the same level that a lot of people want us to be. And I am pretty sure that a lot of people in different parts of the world have the same opportunities and the same level. We are not less than anyone else. We can be in the same level. So that's why Crad and this Crad life wants to show us that there are not geographical limits. We can be whatever we want. We can have a talk with the people that we want to talk, that we admire, as you, of course. And it doesn't matter that we are not there in Lisbon, because we can do it now from our homes. And I think we can do a lot of stuff if we have a purpose, and if we are like disciplined and we want to do it. So that's really nice. I'm sorry, the English started to blow away, but yeah, it's really nice what you said, because I think it's important for all of us to know that we can do it.
But it's an example. The team that I'm working on at QMX, we are all from different parts of the world at this time, and even in the United States, you have people that are working in different states, which is not very different from working in different countries. And it's and we work and we meet when it's necessary, and we talk with each other, we help each other. It's you just have to get used to working that way. It's the way of working in the nothing. I will not say in the future. It's the way of working in the present.
It is, man. What's the most exciting project that you've been part of in your career, in your life?
In my life, I pretty much I really love the work I do now, which is because this thing of working in the collectibles gets me the materiality of things, right? As you see all these sculptures on the back, it's the possibility of holding when we work in digital, there's a lot of things that seems it's very virtual. You never touch anything. Everything is it's bits and bytes inside the computer. But when you end up and do a collectible, and then you get to just pick things and look at them from different angles and touch them and see the materials, all different stuff. It's like when you the full circle connects. Like
Okay.
Old artists would do a sculpture, and then in the end they would have a sculpture. Now we do everything digitally, but in the end we have a sculpture too, and we can touch and look at it. So it's really all these lines that we have been working on. It's incredible. I would say that there are some milestones in pieces that I did that are especially important to me. One of them was this piece for me is very important, which I had. This is Mickey from Fantasia, and the fact that I managed at certain point to sculpt Mickey for a Disney piece, and it being Mickey the most iconic character of Disney, which is probably the biggest animation company that we know. It's kind of a big highlight to me. Another piece that was a big highlight to me was this one.
I can't stop looking at it.
The concept of this piece is for my art director Hawk. He made the concept. I did the sculpting, and my colleague Chris did all the painting. So this is, well, Batman is another of those iconic pieces that having the opportunity to sculpt him on this size, because this is about like say this is almost 40 centimeters inside. It was just it was a blast. It took a lot of time. It took about 6 weeks to do this piece, but it was incredible.
What is the average amount of time that it took to you to create one of these pieces?
Usually the smaller pieces, not one like this, but one piece with only one character like this, it will probably take me about 1 week. This would take me about 2 weeks, and but the more complex it gets, I would say usually one character takes about 1 week. If it takes 2 characters, 2 weeks. If it's bigger, but when it gets bigger, it's not only the number of characters; it's also the complexity of the production gets bigger. As you see, you don't see, but when you let me take this one again. In the camera, you will not spot it. But if you cannot spot it, but when you get to this kind of character, you'll get in this one. You'll have all the texture of the not the cloth, but the weave of the cloth. Okay. You can see it,
well, like the folds, memory folds.
No, that's folds. Smaller than the folds. You have the little knots of the cloth. All over the character. You get, when the character gets big, you get to see everything, all the details. The level of the level of work also gets higher and higher and higher, and also the performance of machines starts getting harder because you need more geometry to hold that detail, and you have to use different approaches, technical approaches to get the machine to still working kind of interactively on these bigger pieces, and so it takes more time to work on them. And the more environment it has, the harder it is also. But as I said, like Batman, Mickey, the one I had been shown, for example, Toy Story was also a very important piece for me because it was, I think it was like in 91 or 92 when the film got released. I was starting in 3D, and I think for most people that started at that time, that was kind of magical how they were able to pull a full film in 3D. Another one that was very, very, very important for me was this one.
Wow, that's a really great, man.
This is Harry and Harry Potter on their bike, and this one was very important for another reason. It's because my daughter is a big Harry Potter fan, and the fact that I managed to do a piece that was of her favorite hero meant a lot to me. So she saw me working on Harry Potter. She would give me feedback on the Harry Potter. You see, having this interaction with your children just because you're sculpting one of their heroes, this was also very special.
I really love all the characters that I'm seeing there. They are so great. I mean, the Batman is amazing, and the Harry Potter is also really cool. Congratulations, man! Really, really good work. I've always admired your work, and it's so nice, man. I was wondering, when you did these pieces, these pieces and the rabbit one. This is funny because this says for my friend Andres, because you gave it to me, and I remember that you did some kind of I don't know how to say raffle, and I won, and you gave me this one, and it says also for my friend Andres, and I have another one that I was reading the signature. And it's crazy because I guess this was for Carlos. I forgot his last name. This one is the rabbit, and he says for my friend Carlos. And now I try to understand what happened there. If I take it.
I think maybe it was for Carlos Cruz.
Carlos Cruz, yes, Carlos Cruz.
He was also in the mentorship, because for people who don't know, in THU 2014, Andreas went to the Trojan horse. It was the unicorn, and I was giving some mentorship, and that meant that I think it was about for 3 days or something. We got together for about 2 hours with a small group of about 10 to 12 people, and I talked to them about my things, and they would ask questions, and I would try to give the best possible feedback to help them with the beginning of their careers or with their current work. And Carlos was also there, and maybe I gave it to you for you to give it to Carlos, and he never received it for Carlos. Huh?
For Carlos, I need to talk to him and tell him that I have his signed poster of Jose Alves Da Silva.
And for people who do not know, I'll show also to the viewers that I also have
an original.
This was made by Andres in 2015, I think, and he gave it to me. Which was based on a sketch that I had made of this octopus. Let me see if I can find it again. It was this was from my sketchbook, and I think it's somewhere here.
I really love that sketch, man, and that was one of my first kind of illustrations that I did inside a 3ds Max. So it was a really big challenge for me.
Yeah, but
I enjoyed it a lot.
I just like to show people the original sketch, because it was really funny having Andres making the 3D version of the sketch. Well, now I can't find it.
But it must be there, man.
It was here. So I'll look for it. Just let's keep talking so people don't have to.
Don't worry, it's fine. I mean, I was wondering.
It's here.
I was wondering. Okay.
This is
it's amazing, man.
Then you have the 3D sketch. So it was really funny, and I still have it. You see, I keep my gift.
Thank you very much, man. It was for me. It was really special to give it to you. I mean, I wanted to say thank you for your prints, and also I really love doing that piece, and that's really great, man. It's kind of I don't know how to say that, homage. I don't know how to say that in English.
Homage, yeah.
Homage for you. So thank you very much, man. And I was wondering, when you created these pieces, if you did it for portfolio, of course, but you were thinking about, if I do this, maybe I'm going to be hired for this, or you just wanted to create pieces because you love those pieces, love storytelling. It was your personal work, and you did it just because of the sake of art, or you were looking for something specifically, in the industry.
I was aiming to continue working in characters and doing illustration for characters, and I would have to say that it's for both, because you can do both. Because it's within that principle in which, if I do what I like, I have more chances of being hired to do what I like. So I just did what I like with the purpose of being hired for things that I like. So that did not compromise the, let's say, the pure art side of the piece. I was doing it because I loved it. I was doing it because I wanted to put it in the best way that I can. But it would have the great side effect of advertising me as an artist for doing that kind of work. So it's it would be both. But when I did it, I was always trying to push myself to do the best I could, the best lighting, having fun with the character. It was not. I was never, while I was working, I was never thinking, oh, will this sell more or sell less? Cool. No. I just wanted to do the best, and then, well, just stopping when I was fully satisfied, as I had learned from the rabbit piece.
That's amazing, man, because I can see that. I can see that you're working because you love that, and it is part of you. You're showing us a part of you. And here I want you to tell us the story about the rabbits. Why do you draw a lot of rabbits, and why do you create a lot of these kind of furry animals in your personal work? I remember your story. I want you to tell us, because that story, it's been part of me as well. And when I have kind of conferences and talks in different events, I try to give that advice as well to them. So that I want you to tell us the story.
I draw bunnies because they're very recognizable and easy to draw in shape and funny. But also, I've always had these bunny teeth. I have these long teeth on the front that have always been a part of my personality, and somehow that translates well into the rabbits. Even that little rabbit bunny has the same overlap that my teeth have. It's kind of so it's a personal touch. It's not that important, but especially the bunnies I started drawing later, which is the kind of a lobotomized bunny that it was born as a way of me trying to learn more about drawing and drawing characters in different angles. So I decided to create a character that was very simple, and then trying to make him in different positions, just to train as a drawing. I liked the character. I kept drawing him more and more. Then I started associating the character with my family, because if you see some of the sketches, I have some sketches in which there are the character, there is the rabbit, there is the wife, there are the kids, which is actually my wife, my kids, and I kind of translate some of my personal experiences into those sketches. But it kind of got it's like a comfort character. It's a character that how to draw so well from every angle that every time I don't draw for a while and I get back to drawing, the first thing I draw is the rabbit. Because it's kind of something that it's kind of automatic and builds your confidence very, very quickly, because you've drawn so many times that when you start drawing, you draw something and then you get confident regarding to drawing, and then you can draw other things. That bunny became a kind of a tool to make me comfortable into drawing again.
That's a really good way to study, no? To study one subject that you're lacking. That's the drawing and posing and the action, and that's really good. But the story about the teeth, for me, is, as you said, it's not that important, but I think it's really important, and sometimes I use it in my conferences and my talks, because I think it has like a two side advice. One is that sometimes you are looking for a style, and you don't know what's your style. But maybe you can have your own physical characteristics to give your characters a style. So I laugh and I say some jokes saying that my drawings have also big ears, and a big nose, because I have a big nose and a big ears, and that's part of my style. And I try to use my own physical characteristics to put into my characters, and people don't understand why I do that. And this is like a bit of doing something of nothing, you know, like I have something to show and I just put it in my drawings. And the other thing, the other side of the advice is like, don't worry, you know, if you have like some permanent or prominent, I don't know how to say, like characteristic that maybe you don't like, no, because for example, that's my nose. Sometimes I didn't like that because it was big and whatever. But if you try to turn it out, you know, turn it into something that it's good for you, like good for your characters, good for your stories, and try to make it like a really great piece of your work, maybe that kind of thinking turns around and makes it like, okay, it's cool to have this big nose. You know, it's cool, and that's really good, and that I think that was really important for me, and I think it's important to give that advice as well to the world. So we have a comment here from Paula Alves Da Silva, and she says, "I'm so proud of you, brother." She loves you.
Oh, it's my sister. Hi, Paul.
Your sister. I'm sorry to say brother. Yeah.
No, it's my sister. Yeah, yeah. Paula is the name of a girl. Yeah.
Cool. Paula, hi. I hope you're fine as well. And I wanted to ask you now. Have you ever thought about working for films, for example?
I have already worked for some movies, but for example, I don't know if you knew the Don't Feed These Animals. It was a short film made by Nebula Studios, in which they asked to use it's exactly with the rabbit I have designed, and they were my friend. The studio, a place where I used to work, but because, for example, let me tell, as a freelancer, and this is an advice I give another advice. It's when you're a freelancer, it's a work in which there is a lot of solitude. Especially if you work from home, you don't get a lot of social contact. You work alone most of the time, and after several months of working this way, that can really have a big toll psychologically on you. You kind of isolate yourself from the world. So at a certain point, I was lucky that the studio, the Nebula Studios, they invited me to work at their place without actually working on their projects. I was just there. I had my desk. They gave me a desk, and I was working there. There were some projects in which we worked together, me as a freelancer, and then even later I was working with QMX, and I was there just for the fact that I was working together with my friends, and that gave me that was very important psychologically, because even though I was working as a freelancer, I was managing at the same time to socialize and to talk with people and be with people and go and have lunch with people and then get back to work. And this is incredibly important. Just because you working alone for years and years and years, that's not the kind of animal we are. We are social animals. We need that kind of contact. So, but that to explain that at Nebula Studios we were friends, and they wanted to make a short film, and they asked me if they could use that character, and I ended up participating in their movie. What was funny is that I was not doing any kind of 3D work on their film, being a 3D character artist, and I ended up being the actual 2D character artist for the film,
like the concept artist.
The concept artist. So I made the concepts for most of the characters, and I also had the option to work with Guilherme and Miguel Medel that were directing the film while they were writing the script, and we were discussing the script and kind of drawing the characters of the story, and it was an incredible experience. It's because I like drawing. I didn't ever have the experience, the possibility to have this role of actually being the actual concept artist, only not doing the 3D, which was really funny because there were other artists doing the 3D models of the work, and they did a great job. And what I do for life, I didn't do it in that film. So it was very, very refreshing. And that's one of them. I never participated in all these big blockbuster films. I never had the chance to work in one of them. Another advice I would give is that people don't. people do not necessarily should not necessarily aim for working in big studios, because all people that are living these courses in animation modeling, they all want to work at Pixar, they want to work at Disney, they want to work at, well, whatever, put the name of a studio, Blur Studio or whatever. And what sometimes they do not understand is that if they work at a smaller studio, the diversity of their work will be bigger, because there are less people working on the studio, so they'll have the opportunity to learn more. And also, as a smaller studio, their fingerprint on the final film will be much bigger, because if you work in a company like Disney, in the end of the film, you'll be looking at things and say, oh, you see the hair on that character on scene 1254, the way the character waves, that's what I did for a year, you know?
Yeah, that leaf is mine.
Yeah, that leaf is mine. Or you see, those, while you're working in a smaller team, let's say a team of 10 people, all the work you do, and if you, for example, if you're the character artist on a team of 10 people, you'll probably have made half of the characters in that film. You know, and in the end, when the film gets out, your importance in the film was much, much, much higher. The level of personal satisfaction with what you've done will be way higher. So I think that major studios are highly overrated. It's great to work in this huge production, but then I see also people that there are these credits with hundreds of people in the end, and then those credits that no one sees in the end of the film, you get in the middle of this pack of lines of people, you have, oh, there goes my name, and in 2 seconds it just goes away from the screen, and that's the credit you get for what you did there. If you work in a smaller team, you'll get a lot more credits, you'll get a lot more satisfaction, and you'll learn a lot more. So also, don't leave the small studios behind, because you'll probably be a lot happier there.
That's a really great advice, man. Thank you very much. And that's something I would like to talk about, and to finish this. Okay. Here, I'm sorry. Okay. So I talked to Shuoso from Trojan Horse as well. Shuoso, yeah. And he told us something similar that you said now, like bigger studios are overrated, and why we don't want to tell our own stories. You know, we are looking for work for someone else to tell someone else's stories, and we don't look for telling our own stories. And we live, for example, here in Latin America, we have really big stories to tell, and we don't tell them because we just want to tell anyone else's stories. And that's something that we need to change, like, you know, with the time, because it's really, really nice to feel more satisfied, you know, with our work, and than just to be part of just one small thing in the big screen. And that's really, really good advice, man. That's one thing that I really admire from your work, and that's why I think it's really important now, because you see a lot of great artistic and visual work, but sometimes the storytelling is lacking. And I think that your work is full of storytelling. Mm-hmm. And what kind of advice can you give us to improve in storytelling? Because your work, you know, and as this works from, you know, 2009, is full of storytelling, and you can feel in the eyes what the guy is feeling, what the guy is thinking, where is he, and sometimes now it's more about like spectacular visuals, but not about storytelling. So can you give us like an advice for that?
I would say the difference is you have to ask yourself, do you have something to say? Do you have something that you want to say with your illustration? That's why I call it an illustration and not a character sheet, for example, right? Because sometimes you see things posted online which are character sheets. What they're putting there is the character model. It's not the story of the character. And an illustration, what's different, even though you might only have the character there, you are wanting to tell a story. That's what storytelling is. So, and when you put a little bit of storytelling into things, and storytelling can work both ways. Storytelling will help you to create your character in a stage in which you're still developing the character. For example, when you're doing a character, you might be asking yourself who this character is, what's his background, what are his motivations. That will help you design the character, right? If this guy is a like say is a boxer, another thing. When you're doing the character, you'll probably, well, maybe he's just came out of a fight. He's got a blue eye, or he's got cauliflower ears because he's been fighting all the time, and he's broken all the cartilage from it. He'll probably be strong. When you give him a background, you are already giving physical characteristics to him. It wouldn't make sense if you decide, oh, the guy is an experienced boxer, and then you would be like very thin and frail, for example. I don't know. That's putting two things that don't match. Don't match together. So there is the story behind the character that will help you build the character, and then there is the story which the character is living in that moment. So that will affect his pose, the way he's looking at you, what he's doing. That will also give the audience more feedback about the psychology of the character. So you would expect, okay, if he's a fighter, he's in a fighting stance, or if he's just been hit, he might be grabbing his face and drooling because he lost a tooth or whatever. But I would say story is important for the past and for the presentation. But also you have to, as for example, I like a lot of comic stuff. I always try to engage people with my drawings by letting have something to find about the drawing that will also lead them to look more time at the drawing. Because if it's just a plain character, you look at it, you appreciate it, and move forward. It might have a lot of work, you'll appreciate that work and go. But if you feel that there is a story there, like, oh, there's some kind of even an Easter egg there, or something that you have to look for, you'll spend more time looking at the character, looking for the little details and understanding, this gives me information, and people will spend more time looking at it. But sometimes the image can start like with a kind of even a joke. Okay, let me think about, this is a situation in which it would be cool. People will think it's funny. I will build the funny by opposing this to that, and let me put that in an image. But storytelling is, as I said, it's important for engaging people. And especially if you can create a moment in which people like discover something in the image that they have not seen the first time, then find it out, and they interpret it in a different way. If you manage for people to give a sort of a click in the way they look at it, then even better, because people will feel. Let me be really blunt and stupid now. People will feel smart about it. It's like, okay. I found a joke in the image, or you connect the two pieces, and that is kind of a moment, a highlight in which you feel really well with yourself because you found that spark moment within the image, and that will make the image even more satisfying because you understood the joke within the image.
That's a really good advice. I also want to put some jokes in my images sometimes, and I think I will try to go back to that. I lost into the creating and structure and visual part, and I lost a bit of storytelling, and that's a really good advice. Sorry.
But it doesn't have to be comic. It can be exactly the opposite. You can make people feel bad even with an image. You can make an image look that's something very funny, but at a certain point you see some hint in the image that shows, but this character is not as funny. He's just about to, let's say, commit suicide because he's just laughing, but because his world is a disgrace. You see a very happy character, but if for some way that you see the image and the elements conduce you to understand that this character, his life is a disgrace and maybe he's about to kill himself, for example, that you might give that click. That will also give the satisfaction of people probably say, oh boy, this is not as funny as I found, but there is that moment of finding out what the story is about. So I said comic, but it doesn't have to be comic. It can just be a twist, It's always about the twist. If you notice about, for example, see how Disney films have been changing. When you look at films like Snow White, from the beginning of the film, you know that the evil queen is the evil character, right? And these initial films from Disney, you know who the bad guy is from the beginning. Notice how all the latest films, you don't know who the bad guy is. And there is always a twist, and at the end, the bad guy is someone who you were not expecting. This is the new trend. Why? Because this twist is satisfying. It's every time you are surprised, it's like, I've been, it's worse the money you pay for the tickets. It's, I've been entertained by being surprised, and that's what you want to put in your image. It's these little surprises. Okay, nice. I can connect. I see something. Maybe I saw this first. It's kind of an intellectual prize.
Okay, that's something that didn't have into account. I mean, for example, this trending stuff of the new series of Netflix. Of course, no spoilers, but it's a really satisfying story. The Squid Game.
Yes.
It's a really satisfying story. A bit predictable sometimes, but it's like every time it's like I'm like yeah, being happy, being sad, being tested in different ways. So it's a really really good story because of what you say. Like it's always twisting stuff and making feel as better or bad or so bad or it's really
emotional.
Good.
The emotional roller coaster. When a film is well made, it's kind of on a roller coaster in which the director wants you to go a certain way, then another way. That's why every time I watch a series or a film, I try to go completely open-minded and let myself ride the journey that the director wants me to go. It's kind of, if I'm not looking at it and say, this film is corny. No, let it go and experience the thing because it's kind of a ride that someone has prepared for you. And you go through it, try to go through all the emotions that the director wants you to go. It's the same with an image.
That's
about
great.
Emotional connection.
I'm always learning. That's a really great advice as well for me. And I just want to go back and draw and something. that's really great, man. Jose, to finish this interview, I just want to ask you a piece of advice that, you gave us a lot of advices, but maybe one that you say a student or a person that wants to get into the industry and maybe is struggling to do it needs to know. What would be that piece of advice that we all want to be listening, like, damn it, I have tried, but I haven't done that.
I guess the one is that you have to work a lot. Don't expect things to happen just by themselves. You have to practice. Even the better artists, for example, with things like anatomy, as I'm sure you know, every time you do a new character and you have to look at a different part of the body, you find a lot of new stuff. The way the muscle overlaps, the way the muscle bulges, the way you see the tendon, the shape of the foot, whatever. You always learn things. And it's by doing these things many, many, many times that you'll learn a lot of good things that will keep adding to your work and adding to your visual library. And then now when you make a foot, you already know that it should have that shape. The bicep must have that shape. The nose bridge is like that because you've accumulated experience. So don't expect to reach a point in which you know everything. You have to keep learning, especially with things like anatomy and tools. But for the promotion of yourself, I keep repeating, and I've said it many times, is just put put your work out there. Don't skip that phase, because more important, because there are two ways of getting hired. One of them is you contact the company that's asking for portfolios. You just put together a portfolio in which you'll have to try to put in the portfolio the kind of things that you're expecting that the company wants to hire in a certain way. That's in which you're trying to twist your portfolio to fit what the company wants. That's one thing. The other way that you get hired, especially if you're a freelancer, is you put your work out there and people will contact you. You don't know when they'll contact you or if they'll contact you. And then it's very important, one, to never release, to don't have a lot of pieces in your portfolio. Try to have less pieces, but of higher quality. Because as I've mentioned many times, the worst piece of your portfolio is the one that defines the risk that the person that hires you will have while hiring you. So when they see you have 8 pieces and there is one that's the worst piece, they will look at that piece and say, well, in the worst case scenario, this guy is going to do this. So if you have one that's very weak, doubt will start growing for the person who hires you. So eliminate all the weaker pieces and just leave the very strong ones, so that they'll think that your weakest piece is, even though it's not,
is there risk?
They will evaluate the risk, and then if you want to work in a certain area, it's just like kind of fake it until you make it. Make just work that looks like the work you'd like to do, and put all your bets in that, and launch pieces like that, and try to be very good at that niche. So that I've told this many times, but it's how all my work came, and what I did, and it worked. So I have to say it many times.
That's really nice, man. That's the way I always try to do, no? Like, do personal stuff, show what I'm made of, try to do as better as I want, as I can. Try to improve in my technical part as well, in my visual part, in storytelling part. Trying to show all of that stuff in my personal work, so people know that I can do it. Even if it is not commercial, even if it is not fun art, because I don't want to do that. I remember that you said people are tired of Wolverines. You said that, like, come on, everyone is trying to do a Wolverine, and I did a kangaroo. So people are expecting to do like this trending stuff and fun art, and it's nothing new. But when they see something new, something fresh, something that's personal, something that's not the same as everything everyone does, that's special. And when you show in your work that you're technical enough, good technical artist, and you're a good artist and a good anatomy, good at sculpting, good at everything, well, they are going to hire you because you are different and you're good. You're not like someone else,
I would say that there are two ways. I think you should do, for example, if you're applying for Pixar, it would be advisable that you also include some characters that match their style, so that they know that they are not risking a lot, and that when you get there, you'll start immediately producing in their style and do that thing. But also put things in there that show other things that show that you're also creative, and then you can do other things that you're not just boxed into that style, so that if they want to do something different, they know that you're also there.
That's great, man. That's great, and thank you very much, Jose, for being with us. It has been a really great time with you. It has been a really pleasure to share with you this morning. Well, it's your afternoon, and thank you very much for all the advices that you gave us and you gave me in the mentorship. For me, it's a really great honor to have you here in the Crad Life. I hope to have you again, so doors are open. If
Of course.
if you want to come back and give us something new or whatever, or just chat and talk, just let me know, and doors are always open to have you here. It has been great. If you want us to follow your work, where can we follow you, or where can I see your work or your portfolio, or maybe a short film, or maybe whatever you do? Tell us and we can follow you, man.
Well, the problem is that my website hasn't been updated since 2015,
Okay.
which is when I joined QMX, because all the work I did before, I used to put it on my own site, which is www.artofjose.com. That's my site, but it hasn't been updated because since I've been working with the company, we have another reality, which is the reality of the NDAs, the fact that you can't post processes and all that, things that I love to do, which was posting and teaching people how to do those things. All those processes, I cannot show them. I can only show pictures of the final product and say that I've participated on them. So I ended up not updating it anymore. Sometimes, so really on social media, I've been being very really weak in that term. Where you can see my work is probably on Amazon.com, in which you can see all the characters that under the QFIG brand, which have not been sculpted. We are a team of three sculptors. It's me, Livio, and João Souza, and we all three do sculptures for the QFIGs. But well, it's on the QMX page. If you see all those characters, some of them were made by me. That's where you can see my most recent released work. That's one of the downsides of working with in a company instead of being a freelancer.
That's What is it? What's the website? QMX Online.
QMXonline.com. Yeah, that's where they have all the products they release and the QFIGs that are there. Okay. Some of them were sculpted by me, others by Livio, others by João. Most of them painted by Chris, and all art directed by Hawk. So that's our team.
That's great, man. I am showing them the work, and also I will invite all of you guys, to follow us in Instagram as Sesiones Crad. We post a lot of stuff there, like advices and some important things to keep doing it and keep pursuing your dreams in this field. So go for it. I tell you, Jose, that I also created the Crad Art Fest. That is the art event here in Colombia for Colombians and Latin Americans. So the idea is to bring the experience that I've lived in Trojan Horse, that unfortunately just one or two Latin American can live, and I tried to brought it here and made it like something so people here can live the experience and live the idea of being out of the bubble and see the work that a lot of people do in the industry. And it's going to be next July as well. So Crad Art Fest 2022 is going to be in July. So all of you guys are invited to be there as well. We're going to have a lot of big artists and big surprises for it. Unfortunately, it's going to be online again because we're not ready for doing it live. But 2023, I hope we can make it. So thank you very much, Jose, for being with us. Thank you very much, all of you guys, to join us in this Crad Live. Everything you want to ask us, just let us know in the Instagram page or comment this video. I'm talking like a YouTuber now, but please follow us, subscribe, and give us a like. Yeah, this is good for us as well. So thank you very much, Jose. Thank you very much to all of you guys, and we're seeing each other in the next Crad Live. Bye.
Bye.
Ready, man.